Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here on a Friday afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Vivian Sorenson, who's here from New York to watch bonobos and to talk to us about her fabulously successful cooking show Chopped, where she's the executive co-producer and also the showrunner. She's also worked on The Bachelor, Wife Swap, Queer Eye. She has a film that did very well at Sundance. And I'm really, really excited to be able to learn about your work and about the industry. And thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Just have to share that it was amazing to see the bonobos today. And that has to do with my daughter, who is here with me. My name is Vivian Sorenson again, and I am the co-executive producer of Chopped. I don't know, I'll just sort of explain what that might mean just in case some of you don't know. It basically means that I'm in charge of the creative of the show. And I'm just curious, do most people here watch Chopped? Yes, are there people here who don't know the show? Yes, okay, do not know the show. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the show as well. So it's a big show. We started it about 10 years ago. It's a tiny little idea that grew before our eyes. And I also think it's because no one paid any attention to us. And by the way, I think that's always a great way to grow something, is do it over there when nobody's noticing. And I think it's to everyone's chagrin that we grew as big as we did. So, Chopped, in its essence, is a food cooking competition series. And we shoot one episode a day, except that we do backstories on our chefs. In a single episode, there are 4 chefs. They compete against each other. They are up-and-coming chefs usually, not always, as you will see today in my video, but they compete against each other with a basket that they get in 3 rounds. And in the first round, they get a basket, and they all open the same basket, and inside it are 4 ingredients. They must cook with those ingredients, plus there's a stocked French pantry. And there are 20 minutes. So they basically have 20 minutes, time starts now, and they have to cook something. And then there are 3 judges that taste that food and decide who is going to be eliminated. So now we move on to our second round. This is the first round was the appetizer round. The next round is the entree. And now we have 3 chefs. Open their baskets, rinse and repeat, 4 ingredients. They must cook with those. They have their stock pantry. They run like crazy. They cook like crazy. They have to come up with an idea like that. And the judges try their food. 1 is eliminated. Now they move on to the dessert round. And there are 2 chefs left. And they get dessert ingredients 4. Again, same story. 1 of them is eliminated, and 1 wins $10,000. That's basically it. The format is magic. It's magic in a bottle. And so many shows, and by the way, I think we've stolen from other shows, but so many shows since us have tried to use the same format, and to varying degrees, actually probably more successful. There's definitely some successful shows that have come out of it. But it works. And we can talk for hours and hours about why it works. Like, I don't know. It's beautiful. It's beautiful in its essence. And what we have are winners. We have 1 winner, but we have 4 people who come together and in a very small way, in terms of sort of their individual story, they want it more than anything. And that means you have very, very high stakes. And like any big game, like I think there's a football game today, right? Like any big game, you want to win. So they come in wanting to win, which means that they're willing to put their heart on the line, they're willing to talk about it, and they're willing to try really hard. Why does this day matter? That's what we always ask them. And then there's also the story of the underdog. Like there's the chef that we didn't think would do well, and they win, right? So there's that story. America loves the story of the underdog, right? And then of course there's 3 chefs that go home. I don't want to say as losers, but who didn't win. And that story, I think, in some ways is so much bigger than the winning story, right? So we tell that story as well. Anyway, that's Chopped. And then when we shoot, we're about 100 people. We're giant. We have 9 cameras. And we tell the chef's story all day long. So each chef is interviewed all day long, and the show is actually told through the chef's story. So if you watch the show, you're going to see that the backbone of the show is an interview with the chef. So we're all about interviews. We're all about telling stories. So anyway, that basically is the show. I thought I would start then by throwing out a basket and asking you all to think about what you might make. So, this is a very recent one. Let's start with pork uterus, bitter melon leaves, buffalo milk pasta, and cow foot soup. Anybody have any ideas what they would try and make with that?
Don't even cook in the first place.
Okay, good. Yes, that's a great idea. Yes. Did you have an idea?
I was going to say the same thing as her,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah. Well, so here's something that's super interesting that I'll share with you. A little secret, a little Chopped secret, is that there is a riddle in every basket. There really is. So we experiment. We talk for days on end about what foods go together. And it's often very unexpected, but it's about different flavor profiles that can be completely opposite each other, but do work together. So how food goes together is a huge part of our conversation. And that's something that we talk about, like how do you, so the chef's job really is to unlock the riddle, right? So you open the basket, you have 20 minutes, you're looking at 4 ingredients. How do you figure that out? Like what are you gonna make out of that? But to know that there's always an answer is really important. Here's another one. By the way, I should also add that I try all the ingredients, all of them. So for example, the pork uterus, we're back there cooking it up like crazy in like 5 different ways. It's very popular in Thailand, it's street food. Like you just have to like, what we call, I think sometimes bizarre foods are not bizarre at all in other countries. So it's just really important to pay attention to that. Here's another one, nutria. Which is basically a giant rat that they have all over different parts of like Alabama. Fuzzy squash, liquid kimchi, and dried shrimp. What would you make?
Except for the kimchi, since my father's family's from Baton Rouge, they actually do make a squash and nutria dish.
Yes.
And it's like seared and plated almost like a salad. Instead of an ahi tuna seared salad. So that's the first thing that pops in my mind.
So interesting.
I've never actually had it.
Yeah.
I've only seen pictures of him as a child making it.
Yeah. Wow. That's real. And it's only until recently that you can like nutria is easier to purchase, to buy, cook
Yeah,
with.
there's actually, you get $10 for everyone that you bring in because they're infesting.
They're infesting,
Yeah.
so it's actually, that's correct, right.
Yeah.
So it's actually a way to.
So you get paid for your meal.
Yep, right, yes. That's complicated. Yeah, so,
Sorry.
right, so I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the story of ingredients is wildly important to us, and we love telling, we love to learn where they came from and why we use them and what part of the country or the world they come from. Is fascinating and amazing story. So with that, I will say that my own story is that I'm a theater director. And in fact, I went to high school in Albuquerque where I directed all the plays and then kept directing plays. And then moved to New York City and found that I wasn't like, the money wasn't working out basically. And so I decided to start working in television and saw that there was a great path there for women who really loved taking charge and had a lot of ideas, and I saw that I could start employing some of the ideas that I have and apply them in an even bigger way than I could with theater. And then I also started working in film. So that's basically how that path happened for me, but I ultimately came at it from a place of storytelling. I'm ultimately a storyteller, and my favorite thing to do, and I think partly because of that and with the work of many others, Chopped is as successful as it is because we love telling stories. So if you watch the show, you're going to watch a competition, but now when you watch it again, look for the stories that we're telling because we bring those up. And I think it's always been really important to me in television to find the through line, to find the bigger story, to find what's current, to find what's alive, to find what matters. I think when you come from theater, those are the things that are really important when you are directing a play. And it wasn't such a big step for me I still think of myself in a way as a theater director when I'm producing and directing any of these television series. I should also add that then after Adult Chop came Junior, so now we work with all kids too, and ask kids to do the same thing that adults do, which is a whole other journey, which is wildly fun. What I want to do is now show you a clip of a show that we did some time back. But what's really interesting about this clip is that it really put us on the map, I think. And from this, we got a James Beard Award. We were nominated for an Emmy and a Critics' Choice Award. And this show that we did culminated a lot of things that I'm talking about, which is the bigger story, game Chopped, using the format, but to also find ways to bring stuff that was going on in the country at the time, things that people were starting to talk about, and apply that to the show itself. So we basically could use the format of Chop, but to tell a bigger story. So with that, I'm going to let you guys watch this.
Attention students, your favorite subject, that'll be lunch, is about to get the Chopped treatment. Balanced, nutritious meals for every child. That is the goal. So, we welcome 4 cafeteria wonder women who are ready to give it their all. First up, Chef Cheryl Barbara.
The colors are unbelievable, aren't they? I'm the head cook of High School Community in New Haven, Connecticut. The stereotypes of lunch ladies with the hair net. It's not the cutest thing in the world, serving slop. Smell this basil, how good it smells. That's so not it. We're mothers, we're grandmothers, we're caretakers. She smells so fresh. I have an 11-year-old daughter who I adopted from China, my Rosie, and 300 other children. Kids come in every morning. They're offered breakfast and lunch every day. But for a lot of these kids, lunch is actually the last meal of the day. And unless you work in that front line, you don't know what it feels like for a child to tell you they're hungry. Everybody wants to do their part in this world just to get these kids fed. That's my goal in life.
Next, Chef Rhonda Deloche.
I'm the head chef and food service director at Common Ground High School in New Haven, Connecticut. Common Ground does not look like your average school. We have a 1-acre garden. We serve fresh food every day, eggs from our chickens. I think changing that lunch lady stereotype can be done. You can make food fun and glamorous as well as healthy. I am so ready for Chopped. I'm not a lunch lady, no, I'm a chef.
Then there's Chef Diane Houlihan.
I'm the assistant cook manager at Great Neck Elementary School in Waterford, Connecticut. I went to Johnson & Wales College in Rhode Island to study culinary arts. When I was a child and I would have school lunch, meals would be covered with gravies and sauces, and you didn't even really know what you were having for lunch sometimes. And so now, with my training, I love having the opportunity to prepare things for them that look good, bring in more fresh vegetables. There you are. I might not make much money, but I feel like I'm rewarded just by seeing their smiling faces every day. It's so cute. I told my husband winning Chopped would be like winning the Super Bowl. I would really love to take my grandchildren to Disney.
Finally, Chef Arlene Leggio.
I am the cook manager at the Islip High School on Long Island in New York. I get ended by we have fresh produce every single week delivered to us from the USDA. Have a great day. I love my lunches. I love making new ideas for the children. My goal is to have restaurant-style food in our cafeterias. Every school is capable of making changes. Stop with the reheating. Just start cooking. Winning to me would mean everything. Money part is really nice, but the most important part is winning for the kids. It really is.
There are 3 rounds: appetizer, entree, and dessert. Each course comes with its own basket of mystery ingredients. You must use every ingredient in the basket, also available to you, our pantry and fridge. When the clock runs out, our judges will critique your dishes on presentation, taste, and also creativity. If your dish doesn't cut it, you will be chopped. Chefs, please open your baskets. And we are looking at canned tuna fish, wonton wrappers, spinach, and dill pickles. You have only 20 minutes to complete the appetizer course. Time starts now.
I'm making this dish with the kids in mind because I do a lot of Asian foods at school. But today, I'm making a deconstructed tuna salad sandwich. I'm going to use a wonton as my bread. I'm picturing a vibrant salad. I like a lot of green on the plate. I absolutely believe you eat with your eyes first and then your stomach. You eat tomatoes.
I have never worked with wonton wrappers before, but the best thing I could do was stuff it. So I had to go with filling. And my Italian heritage brought me to the Italian sausage. I channeled my grandmother a lot when I cook. Spinach and Italian sausage is definitely a dish my grandmother would make. So I got the Italian sausage, tossed it with the spinach, stuffed that wonton. I knew my kids would go crazy over that, and that's how I knew the judges would too.
I'm going to do the same thing that I'm doing today that I'm going to do in school. I hide the vegetables so this way everyone eats them. Put spinach, tuna. I'm going to have a little dipping sauce to the side. I absolutely love doing dipping sauces because I think it makes children really want to eat, or anybody want to eat.
The kids are reading this book called The Beggar's Purse, and I see the wonton wrappers, and I think, oh, that would be neat if I made little purses out of them. It would tie in with the curriculum. So I'm making a tuna-filled beggar's purse on a field of greens. I came here to make my school proud. I don't want to go home in the first round.
In the Chop kitchen, I very much felt like I was in my own kitchen because I was with my other workers.
Right behind you again?
We're soldiers, and the only way we do it is by having each other's back.
Items behind you, hot items, hot.
We could recruit more people to do what we do. I know we can conquer childhood hunger.
You know, we've been talking about the children and all these different initiatives. A lot of people don't really realize 1 out of 4 children don't have enough food to eat in this country. I think that putting these chefs on a pedestal and really showing them that they're cooking for our children and for the future of America, it's so important.
Who belongs at the head of the class? Chefs, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Please step back.
For me to see my other co-workers produce beautiful lunches like that, it made me feel proud. I really did.
Everybody has so much talent, and they're wonderful ladies. Every dish looked the best. And I don't know who's going to get chopped.
Before we go any further and get into any of the details of food, thank you for your service to the country and your service to kids.
Thank you so much.
You are an inspiration, truly.
Chef, it must be Pasta Monday.
It's always Pasta Monday in my school. My school is very poor, and I do have a lot of kids that don't eat on the weekend. So I try to fill them up with the pasta. I put together a backpack program, and I pack backpacks for kids that I know will not have food on the weekends.
That's unbelievable service. It's unconscionable that in the wealthiest country in the world that we still have so many kids who can't get a meal over the weekend. Your work is so critical.
Can I ask you a question? What is your job title?
I'm an assistant cook manager.
I think that if we start...
We're going to change it.
I think that school chef sounds a lot better.
Wow.
And I gotta tell you that what you guys have been doing here today
Yeah.
merits that title.
You guys are chefs, period.
To be able to have this honor to come here and cook for you chefs, it's just amazing. It's something I never thought I'd be able to do. A lot of people say, you're just a lunch lady in a cafeteria now, and I don't feel like just a lunch lady anymore.
Thank you, chefs.
Think about all the food service women and men that are going to be watching this. This is amazing.
It takes my breath away. Like, I can't even believe we're here doing it.
I'm very grateful that I met you guys. You guys are
It's been a blessing.
And that means, Chef Cheryl Barbara, that you are the Chopped champion, and that you'll be taking a $10,000 check back home to New Haven. Congratulations. Bravo. Let's bring back in all the school chefs.
You know what? I'm so proud of you. I really am so proud of you. Cheryl is spreading the word. We need to feed these kids. We need to feed the kids. I just think it's incredible that all this is happening, and I think it's really going to make a difference.
And one more surprise. Some of your biggest fans are waiting in the wings to congratulate you for what you do every day. Come on in, guys, and join us.
Oh my God, my kids! My kids are
The show has made me whole, and there's no other way to describe it. I've never considered myself a chef, but you know, after what I completed today, at 50 years old, I became a chef.
I knew you could do it. I told you that all along.
I've never felt so euphoric and so blessed.
Never stop, I promise.
I did it. Thank you all. Thank you to everyone.
So the amazing thing is I can watch that and cry. And I can watch it over and over again and cry. And I think that's the point, is that that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm always trying to, like, this doesn't happen every day. But when we can, and you can feel it, it's like a home. It's like when work is cellularly alive. That's when you know something's going on, and I'm attracted to that. That's what I'm always trying to go after with my work, no matter what it is. And I work that way with my teams, and I work that way with my producers. And Ted Allen, the host, calls me the tormentor. I hope that he's saying that to me in a nice way. I don't always know, but I do torment people. I go after it until we find it. I push until we get a story like this. But this does not happen every day. And I learned a lot from this show, and I also can't tell you how hard this show was to make. This did not come easily. And I almost lost my job over this because as the casting director and I were out finding the school cafeteria chefs to be on the show, we began to sort of realize that there was like a really powerful stories that were coming to us. And simultaneously at that time, Michelle Obama started Let's Move, right? She had her White House garden. And Sam Cass, who you see here, was the White House chef as well as the senior policy advisor for nutrition in kids. And together they were very concerned with making sure that kids had healthier and more nutritious food at school, and that they were moving. And this was all about ending childhood obesity and just sort of what's happening to all the kids that are hungry. So I thought, oh my God, we're doing the show. We need Sam Cass, and you take a network and you say, I want to bring someone from the White House, and it feels polarizing and all of that. But I knew that this subject of food is so powerful that what he was talking about was not polarizing at all. In fact, it would bring everybody together, because we're just talking and making sure that there's food and good, healthy, nutritious food on the table. And we're also talking about a population of workers that are feeding our kids that nobody's talking about. And I thought, well, wow, let's introduce Sam to them and they can hear each other. So I literally was told if I don't stop talking about getting Sam Cass onto Chopped, I would be fired. Like, it really came down to that. But I didn't shut up. And I think that that's also something that has been somewhat not unique to my career, because I think for most of us who really like push through with things that we're extremely passionate, there are those times when you just sort of have to apologize later and you just keep going. I'm very much that person. Therefore you see Sam Cass. The end of this very incredible journey is that he invited those 4 women, plus we did another episode again after this one, to the White House. And they were served a meal there and a tour of Michelle Obama's garden, which was very powerful, meaningful to them. And also the message got out in such a huge way. Like, I mean, people started talking, and I think even we made a difference. Like, we made a difference not just, and as I was saying before, it's not just like a singular chef comes on Chopped, and yes, their story's incredible, and all they want to do is win, right? And that's great, and they should want that for whatever reasons they come on the show. But then there's sort of this bigger messaging that happens, and I have found that by taking this wildly powerful show, we can send big messages out at the same time. And that's what I learned from our from this episode, that we could do this. And I've taken that message and learned from that myself, that like, oh my God, well, we can do this in other ways. We too. So now what I try and do is make sure that when we have, like, let's say, pork on the show, I make sure that it's coming from a farm where the pigs are treated sustainably, and I make sure that when we're talking about that we're talking about biodiversity, and we're talking about chefs that have farms that they get all their ingredients from, or not. Like, at the same time, like, we've had to do shows about fried food, French fries, for example, and I'll just be like, okay, French fries. Like, how am I going to make French fries into, like, it makes you, they do, like, they're not good for you, but they're yummy. I love French fries. We all know that, like, late at night or sometimes you just really want French fries, so we have to sort of accept that. But how do we tell the story about, potatoes and why chefs like to use them and what they go with, and fried food, and all of a sudden we have this absolutely incredible show on our hands, where we're talking about, how yummy French fries are, but at the same time you can do this, and what is frying, and why it's not good for you, but how you can do a little bit of it. And it's pretty incredible to be able to be given the opportunity to talk about food and have a giant population of people watch the show and be able to send out these messages. And then we also have, like, crazy, amazing, funny things that happen to us all the time on the show as well. And I thought I'd just talk to you guys a little bit about that, because I thought you might want to hear some funny stories too. And also how we deal with them. Since there's kids here, I'll tell you a little bit about Chopped Jr. So sometimes kids who come and compete on Chopped Jr. Get really scared. And we've gotten really good at helping you guys, kids, through this. And we will really work with kids to show you that you can stand up in front of a camera, you can cook in front of people, that it's the experience that matters, that you are cooking at all is incredible, and also that it's not about winning and losing, but it's about this amazing experience, about working with, these judges, Ted Allen, and we're all going to have a really good time together. So I think that's also been really important to me on Chopped Jr. is to also create messaging through the way we work and the way we work with kids, and also that kids are cooking and teaching other kids to cook. And there's, like, now kids are 8-year-olds are, cutting with knives and cooking on stoves. It's kind of amazing. And I don't think Chopped is entirely responsible for that. I think that there's kids have probably always been cooking, but now there is so many. In fact, I'm developing a show right now, a baking show with 8 and 9-year-olds, like 8 and 9-year-olds baking cakes. So, so it's been fascinating to be in this, to be sort of at the perfect moment, at the perfect time, to be delivering a show about food and then to see the profound effects it's having on people. But a couple fun stories. We have a lot of blood accidents on Chopped. We are constantly trying to figure out when a chef cuts themselves what to do. And it literally, it's like a whole team of detectives when a chef cuts themselves, because we're always trying to figure out like if the food is safe, if the blood got into the food, the judges can't eat any food with blood in it for all the reasons that you know. And sometimes we have to figure out if they have to make it again, but it always has to be, the clock is always ticking. We don't ever stop the show to fix something. No one ever gets extra time. The show is wildly, we don't mess with the clock, and the judges make the decisions. Like, that's just the way it is. We're not like other shows or whatever you hear out there. We are so legitimate, it's ridiculous. And I think that that's one of the reasons we're so successful as well. But so we'll literally be like, okay, so it looks like the blood got on the board, but then the blood didn't get in the food, so that they can eat this. I mean, it's just amazing. We also have situations where we'll have a chef, and they just couldn't get anything done. Like, they couldn't deliver. And they just have like an either absolute freak out, or they're very slow and meticulous, and they just can't. So we'll literally in front of the judge will be like, here's this plate with the nutrient whatever and the cow's milk whatever soup, and then here's this plate with nothing on it, or maybe there's like 2 beans. They're just amazing. And it can be really sad too. It can be wildly sad because these chefs come on the show and all they want to do is win, and they can only get 2 beans on a plate. And there are tears. There's so many tears. It's insane. We cry, they cry. We all talk about dust in the room. It's pretty crazy. But people also see it, I think, oftentimes as a platform to talk about their lives and talk about why they do what they do. I think chefs are a lot like artists. It's a hard career. They've chosen it for various reasons. It's particularly challenging for women chefs. We talk a lot about that. We also have a lot of chefs who are immigrants, and they very much talk about the American dream and coming to America and bringing their food and rising up through restaurants. Incarcerated people. There's so many chefs that have been incarcerated or find that the kitchen is the way to stay out of prison. So, we're really like so many paths here. So I like talk about like food to table and like this amazing story of like getting beautiful food onto the plate. And then over here is someone who's, working at, making fried chicken every day, and they have their whole life, and it's the best fried chicken place there is in some small town, Memphis, Tennessee, or something like that. And what's their story like? And again, like you can see this same thing with the lunch ladies. Like it's just you have all these people's lives, and they pour out onto the show. That's also amazing. It's been so Chopped continues. We have another giant season ahead of us. We have more junior shows ahead of us. We just finished shooting. We do 52 shows in a year, which is a lot. And it takes us, again, as I was saying, 1 day to shoot a show. For my own career, it's very exciting because I now know so much about food. Working on a series about regenerative agriculture because food is very much part and parcel of climate change and how we can talk about agriculture in a different way, and the chefs are talking about that, as are farmers. It's all related. So the path for me has been super exciting, and I sort of fell into it, as I was saying, coming out of theater. And then, as I was saying, I'm working on a kids baking show, and the world of television is it's been an exciting place to be, to tell stories, and I think to raise awareness about various different things that I think are important to everybody breaking bread, right? So anyway, does anybody have questions about Chopped or anything? Yes?
Was it hard to come up with a magical number of 4 ingredients?
That is a great question, yes. And we've tried experimenting a lot with that. We've also tried experimenting with there's only 3 eggs. Right, you have to race to get to the eggs. So what we want now, and this comes after literally, so many episodes, and we're still trying things, so we don't always know if we're right. But what we definitely have found is we want chefs to succeed. So now we find that 4 in that given amount of time, we want them to rush. Like, we're really mean. We're seriously mean to people. Like, we want them to have a really hard time. So if you give them 3, it's a little easier. So there. There's my real answer. We're really mean. Yes.
Oh, so I was always curious, when they open the basket and Ted Allen says time starts now, we were always wondering, is there a little pause where they have time to think, or are they literally hitting, do they have
There is a little time for them to think, and we do not mind giving people time to think. Okay. And that's because the cameras are shooting them, right? So we're getting all those great expressions and everything. Right. We used to, and again, we used to make sure we went right away. They had absolutely no time to think. But now, again, I used to separate all the chefs so they couldn't see each other before they started. But now I'm like, why don't they know? Look at the lunch ladies. They're all supporting each other. And that's the other thing. Most of the time people are supporting each other. So yes, we give them some time to think. Thinking is not a bad thing. It only helps you succeed. And again, we don't give them a lifeline in any way, shape, or form. So, the time hasn't started.
So I watch your show. I watch the show all the time.
Yay!
So,
you're a fan.
And so I love the themes, and I know that you have the socially impactful themes, like the lunch ladies.
Yeah.
And then I've seen your $1 million ingredients theme.
Isn't that fun?
That was a great one. So what would be for you one of the most unique themes that you guys ever came up with, and how did you guys get?
Let's see. The most unique theme that we've come up with. Well, that's hard. There's so many. I love our bizarre foods episodes because we're really taking foods that are not known to generally in America, but we're bringing ingredients in from all over the world. So I love doing that. We just did a cauliflower episode that was really fun. And that was cauliflower in every way, shape, or form. And just because cauliflower is now a big ingredient, we did that. I've had tons of fun. This is a little bit different, but Martha Stewart has been wildly fun to have on the show. And so whenever she's on, I always try and do something that she loves. So donuts, she loves donuts. So that's fun. So it sort of depends on all these different things. Martha Stewart loves Halloween more than anything in the entire world. She loves to get dressed up. She loves to, show me all the pictures of herself at her Halloween parties, right? So we do lots of fun things. I love our Halloween episodes. Oh, and that was a quick story I was going to tell you guys about the eel for scary things that have happened to us. We did a Halloween episode. Somebody decided to serve their eel raw, and the blood of the eel was on the eel. And who knew? We're quickly Googling and going crazy and calling every, our culinary advisor because it's poisonous. Who knew? But you cannot eat raw eel. You can't eat raw eel blood. So things like that. Anyway, so back to, so that's sort of it's kind of a combination of the episode, the theme, with who's on it too.
$1 million ingredients.
Yeah, $1 million ingredients are crazy fun, but so are our late night or sort of low budget episodes as well, where people have to figure it out. That was the idea behind Chopped and Beanie, is you open your cupboard and you're exhausted, you don't have time to cook, and there's some crumbs, some old, Parmesan cheese, some lettuce, anyway, okay, yes.
So you're telling us a story. Are the judges hearing the same amount of the story, and do they have a hard time? Does that play into it?
They do not hear as much of the story. And I don't know, for those of you who do know the show, our, I think, most favorite judge is Alex Shelley. She likes to know absolutely nothing, and it drives her nuts that we tell her anything at all. Other judges like to know a lot. If they've had a big story or experience that they're going to tell on the show, and generally we think that they might tell that story, we usually let them know, because it can be fairly heavy at times, and you sort of want to prepare yourself for that. But they have different desires to know how much of the chef's story. I mean, it's nice when things are fresh and new for you, right? So,
like the degree it would play into judging.
Oh yes, so the degree it would play into judging. So you're talking about the judging. They judge the plates, not the story. That is what we say. Judge the plates, not the story. It's a good rule in life overall, I think, is try and take things as they come and not look at the person that's bringing it to you. What is the situation? So we're very careful about that, wildly careful about that. We're all human. It's hard not to be influenced, but I think we're pretty good about that. Yeah, that's always a tough one, though. Yes.
Can you give us an example of a riddle from the basket?
Oh yeah. Okay. So Okay. Well, I need a basket to tell you. Right. I'd have to have 4. We can do it from this one. Let me look at what we have here. I would need. You guys can throw out a basket. Well, we sort of heard about, gentleman over there was saying about the nutria and the fuzzy squash. So there's a show, an episode, I'm going to answer this sideways. There's an episode called Viewer's Choice that the audience actually loves, because it's where the fans get to pick the ingredients. And the ingredients do not go together. And the chefs are angry the whole time, right? Because they don't go together, and you can really tell that they don't go together. Those are not ingredients that go together. And then, so conversely, all the other baskets do, the ingredients talk to each other. And we often hear that from chefs, as they're sort of listening to the ingredients. And they might not know them all, but it's very important to taste them, right? Really important to taste your ingredients. And you start working with one, or you get a little bit of an idea, and often they come in with an idea that they want to do a salad is good, a pizza is good, and you can sort of apply those ingredients to that. So you sort of start with 2 and then find another way to bring another one in. But we're always trying to trick people, so I'd have to have a basket for me to answer that. So
you said something about you view agriculture and farming for the future in a different way.
Yes.
So in what way?
Well, so basically, I think that if we can pay more attention to where food comes from, like we do on Chop, we just make sure that we know our butchers, we know where our food comes from. We're really talking about that we got all the, it's a entirely an episode where all the food is, where there's no meat in the basket, basically. And we talk about then, okay, well, our greens today came from that rooftop farm, and that's right in the city. So what's that doing? And how is that changing things? And that's really interesting to people. Or maybe we have a chef that works on that farm and is cooking food at that farm and on the rooftop and using that in his restaurant or her restaurant, and that all together is starting to change the conversation about agriculture and how can we work with more local farms, how can we work with more mid-sized farms. that's the story. And chefs love telling that story because that's what they want to do, right? So that's what I mean by like, how can we begin to like get the messaging out there about that even more? So that's very important to me. And all my editors and all my producers know it. And all the judges and Ted. So everyone's a little exhausted by me, but you know, the tormentor, right? Yes.
What is your creative process after being maybe 40-something seasons? How do you stay creative? What does your team look like? How do you continue to be inspired in the creative process of storytelling?
Yeah, it's wild. It's food. It's just never boring. It just isn't. Like, there's just more to learn. And it's exactly like what I was saying also about agriculture. Like, the combination of foods, 4 ingredients, where they come from. What are you going to do with those? Every single day it's different. Every chef that comes in, they have a different story to tell. One of the things I say to my producers is no one's boring. They come to me and they're like, oh, there's no story here, they're so boring. And I'm like, no one's boring. You just are not working hard enough, right? So that's one of my tenets. Another one that I talk to my daughter about when she's writing papers and stuff, and she's smiling right now, is the God of the why of the why. And that's just my own crazy expression. But I call the God of the why is all about getting to the bottom of a story. Like, why? Why? You just keep going, why? And when you get to the God of it, you're getting to the inspiration. You're getting to what's amazing. You're getting to why people come together and cook food. You're getting to why somebody who came from, you know, let's say a small town in Venezuela, who's, you know, has not seen their parents in so long, and they know that they're struggling, and they're sending money back, and they're growing their restaurant and their work, and their money is going to go to try and get their parents back to, you know, to America, or get there to see them. Like, how can that not be interesting? Like, it just is. But you have to, you know, you have to care, and basically, like, anybody that comes to work on the show at a creative level, if they're not coming for the right reason, I do not want them on the show. Like, so that means, like, if you've been on the show for 5 seasons and you're bored, please, I kick people out all the time. I'm like, go do something else and then come back. You know, because people want it, like, it's the same people, like, no one leaves the show. We can't get anybody to leave, like, everybody wants to stay. It's a great place to work. It's a great environment. Same director, same executive producers, same culinary producer, same casting director. All the shooters are the same, like, no one leaves. So that's why sometimes I'm like, go, you gotta get out of here, you gotta go do something else. And then if you want, you can come back, but you have to tell me that you're super excited to come back and work on Chopped. Yeah. Yes.
Besides the school chefs, is there a particular chef that you have in your memory that particularly touched your heart?
I mean, there's so
with their story?
Many. Yeah. There's so many. Well, for one thing, there's, like, you know, there's my judges when they compete is always incredible to see wild talent, and that's great. Bobby Flay falling down, competing on Chopped, like, you know, all of that is great, and those are moments and chefs that I won't ever forget. Marcus Samuelson leaping over the kitchen like an elk and frying up a newspaper to put in something he was making. This was an episode we did in which fathers competed, fathers who cook. Again, it was not chefs. The competitor who won has a really incredible story, and he was he's a fireman and a 9/11 survivor, and his wife had passed away a couple years ago prior to that. and he was raising his 3 kids on his own. And his story was just, he was just a remarkable human, and he just, you know, these stories just get inside you, how people overcome so much, and how food gets people through so much is really, it's really incredible, and that it brings people together, like in times of like great fun and in times of, you know, deep sorrow, and you know, he had us all on the floor sobbing. There was a little girl who competed when we did the older teenagers, and we called her, you know, called her strong and mighty all day. You know, her story, again, it's like another big story, but I'm not going to go into what that is. But these are some of the people that live inside you. So I want to say that, you know, equally, it's like the Keats of the world that are so powerful and moving, and how they transcend, and food is their operating force to get through hard times. Equally, like, it's wildly talented chefs that also blow your mind at what they're cooking and the speed. Like, for someone like Alex Gordon-Shelley or Bobby Flay, they're like, cooking food is a sport, and they're wildly good at it. And just like watching any sport where you're seeing an amazing athlete, it's like watching, you know, the Olympics. It really is. Like, you cannot believe what you're seeing. And, you know, we had Alex Gordon-Shelley was cooking one day, and she like cut herself so badly, and she wanted no one, and she didn't want to turn to anybody else but me, right? And she refused to step down for the medic. And she's literally like one hand with like a towel, her hand behind her back, and she is, and she's like, I don't know how she's doing. She's frying, she's like pulling things, you know, she's like making pasta, then she's opening like, you know, the oven with her foot, making sure that the blood from her hand doesn't get into the food. So, yeah. Yes.
Does this show ever sponsor the dreams of some of the chefs that don't win, and that you are touched by their stories? They always come in the end of the, they ask what you're gonna do with the money, you know, and then some of them have very catchy dreams. Do you ever sponsor any of those dreams?
Do we ever sponsor any of those dreams? We generally not, unless they come back. I think my answer is no. Really, my answer is no. We tell their story if they come back on the show again. And we talk about, if they come back on the show again, what we do is talk about what they did with the money. But I wish, and to your question, like, I wish we could go further. But generally, no. It's a good idea. Is that, are we at time?
You ready? Well,
Yeah.
Vivian, it's a privilege having you on
thank
camera.
you so much. Thank
We
you.
align more than you think. 'Cause what I heard, and I think most of us heard, is that you see value in every human being.
Yeah.
But you also know that they're vulnerable.
Yeah.
But the way you do your judging is you hold people accountable. And that's one of the elements of treating people with dignity. That you acknowledge them, you recognize them, but the final 10th element of dignity is holding people accountable. So your model aligns with our dignity model here at school. So
I love
thank
that.
you for
Yeah.
sharing your story here.
Thank you
It was
so much.
absolutely
Thank you for having me.